Well, my news. Last came into work the other week. Pretty as anything. Real spark of kind of mischievous ace about her, which I kind of like. We had a bit of a laugh, threw a few smiles and funny faces, sort of back and forth afterwards. Then she returned and asked for my number. So I was like, cool. A few chats and texts thereafter, and she wanted to meet. Then things go quiet. And then she comes in again, apologised, and asked to meet that evening. And then I hear nothing. And I can only imagine that she got stuck on Dark Souls, got past that bit, then got stuck again, and then got past that bit again. Because that's all I'm good for, my friend.
It's the only thing we use you for.
That's the only thing I'm good for. It's the only rational explanation. Although it was funny today, there was someone that I was talking to, and for some reason I don't know why I mentioned Dark Souls, but they were like, "Oh, Dark Souls, I hear that's really tough." So I like break off from all professional commitments and just go like, "No, don't believe that at all. It's challenging, but it's not difficult." And then she said, "Should I start with Demon Souls?" I was like, "No, Dark Souls. You do it. It's it's 1585 on Shop 2 at the minute. It's shop2.net." And she was like, all right. I was so I was like cramming loads into a short space of time.
You became that guy.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that happens in real life, not just the forum and the internet. Did someone say it?
No, the most bizarre of that was someone talking about something the other day, which was a lime drink that if you put a bit of strawberry in it, it tastes like a Solero. And as soon as someone said Solero, I did praise the sun. And they aren't Dark Souls players. And I did stand up. I don't care. The sun is like a magnet. Actually, I quoted this morning. Someone was going like, once again, it just shows how desperately poor my life is. But someone said it's really sunny out today. I was like, the sun is like a magnificent father. And they just looked at me like, a magnificent father?
While you're stood there, arms to the sky.
To which I followed, yes, but only I could be so grossly incandescent. It was like, inadvertently, they sort of threw the ball back up. And I was like, punk! So yeah, that is my life. Although on the other side of that, Kane and Rince that I've mentioned before, who do wonderful critiques of games, like spoiler packed, but it's just a fantastic discussion of games. Did their Dark Souls discussion, went up on Sunday night, which is really good, worth a download. And they tip the hat towards a place called Bonfire Side Chat. Which is a bunch of folks very much like us doing they're talking about a different place at a time. So they're doing like Blighttown and then Sense Fortress and then Anno London. They're actually doing discussion sort of level by level, if you will.
Yeah.
But I listened to about half an hour of it on my lunch today, and it's really good. Yeah. So just in case my brain hasn't got any more space for Dark Souls stuff, I'm actually forcing more Dark Souls stuff on it so it can throw things out like rational thought and motor skills, perhaps.
Well, this is good. Maybe what you're doing is forcing so much in that some of it will start to fall out, so you can play it fresh again.
I don't know. I just look forward to going hollow and then chowing into a few of those cunts that ruin my day.
Yeah. Right. On that, shall we begin properly?
I thought we'd already begun.
Let's put a hello on it. Hello everybody. My name's Paddy from Polygon Forums. Friend, introduce yourself.
I'm CJ and I'm from Life, and I also frequent the Polygon Forums and Laudren. And I get propositioned by stunning models who I can only imagine don't get in touch with me afterwards because they've got past the bit on Dark Souls they were stuck on.
Truly, your reputation precedes you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that reputation, to be honest. But
and you're listening to
one hand, good for the ego. On the other hand, no.
And you are listening to the Polynauts Soulcast. This is episode 8. We'll name it later because I haven't got any ideas.
No, I haven't got a song today. I thought I'd put a bit of space behind it because I was disappointed that backing track didn't go in the previous ones.
I can YouTube something together later if you like. I can put something together. I nearly had a song, but it's not quite good enough. So I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to come back next time, and it's going to be good. I'm not happy with it.
We'll have to have the song special where we just glue the little bits of songs that we've got together with musical backing this time. Because I know the people that listened will obviously be wanting some buffoons caterwauling over karaoke versions of terrible songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be delightful.
It will be grossly incandescent.
Grossly incandescent.
So last week, not like I was counting down the seconds until it happened, but we got the Dark Souls 2 reveal, and the night before I'd had about 2.5 hours sleep, and not through looking, just tossing and turning like it was kind of Christmas Eve.
Yes, it was.
But about 7 o'clock, I was lying on the couch and I fell asleep. And it was like at 8 o'clock, it was like my body went, "Wake up! Wake up! There will be no sleeping here. This is an emergency." It's like all of the things in my body which rationally would say, "You've had 2.5 hours." It would use that kind of timber. It would be like,
"It's time! It's time!"
You've had 2.5 hours sleep. You should rest. You need to recharge your batteries for the next day because it's important to be alert. You've got a lot to do. You've got a lot to bring to the table. You've got a lot to bring to daily life. But it was like, "No, Dark Souls, fuck it all. Wake up. Wake up now. Go and focus on that screen." And it was entirely worth it as the entire universe watched on and gawped deliciously at the game we all hoped we were going to get. And then those final few moments, those final couple of minutes were just, I'm sorry, they were just fuck off.
They were ball busting.
What did you think? Because obviously you're going through the game for the first time at the minute,
yes,
and experiencing and enjoying what you've got thus far. But how much did Dark Souls 2 tantalize?
I enjoyed watching it, and I enjoyed noticing the differences from what I have experienced so far compared to what they were showing on the thing. And I was looking at things like when I first watched it, I wasn't really watching like the levels and the gameplay. I was watching things like the weapon bar and the healing stones and the HUD. And I was looking at the little bits around the outside before I had to watch it twice because what did I even watch? So I had to go back and watch it again and actually look at what the dude was doing.
I watched it twice, and I think I did the reverse of what you did. I was kind of gawping at levels, and I think the part of me that obsesses over the lore of the games and has loved the Dark Souls in particular was just staring at the world at first, and then I kind of looked into
stuff,
the satellite stuff. But
yeah,
I wonder if the HUD was minimized at a certain point.
It was, I like that. I think that's great. Cut down the screen clutter and just focus on the nightmare that's in front of you.
Well, it was when the character on screen sheathed his sword. So I'm wondering if there's in the same way as if you lower your shield, you're a little bit faster. I'm wondering if in Dark Souls 2, if you sheath your sword completely, if you're faster again.
Oh, I think so, definitely. I had considered that as well. I was thinking, you're going to put that away, and then maybe that could be for like full retreat. Put it away. It's time to run now.
Because it was mentioned on the Epic Name Bro vid as to whether because there was a number of weapon slot outs on there, as to it could just be a debug.
Yeah, I was
off the weapons, but I quite like the thought of being able to cycle between kind of a small weapon, a large, and a large. You know what I mean? Sort of maybe 3 different kinds of weapon that you can sort of swap in and out.
I mean, from what it seemed to me when I watched it, what it looked like to me, it looked like as the different weapons were equipped, the larger ones were causing the guy to slow down a bit, and like the rolls and
Yeah,
the run speed, it looked slower.
but it also makes for some interesting fun in sort of PvP type combat because you'd be thinking like if somebody switches to a large sword, if you then switch to a dagger or something,
A
and
putty rapier, maybe,
you
yeah.
get a quick stab and then sort of dodge out of the way, then you change to a larger sword and you hammer in there, and maybe at that point they get rid of the big sword completely and sheathe it and double roll away like really quickly.
Get the magic wand out and zip around like no one's business.
I think it could speed up the PvP, and not to a way that's detrimental, but I think add in like a load of strategy so that the bigger, more powerful stuff slows you down that little bit more, but you've got more options in between as to what you're going to do. And like say, if they do the sheathing of all the weapons and you're faster completely, run away, hide, jump behind them a little bit faster, that'd be corking stuff.
But if they catch you, you're buggered.
Yeah, I just think that it will open up the options, and it looks to me like, I mean, there's a degree of, none of us wanted the game balked for, just to appeal to the bigger market, although, that is what From want to do. From a Namco Bandai want to get it to the largest possible user base, and we were all worried as to whether that would nerf it a little bit, but I think their marketing thus far has been absolutely exemplary.
Yeah.
To a degree that I've not seen in video games for quite some time. The VGA was a massive splash. Obviously, there was that interview which we wondered if the Edge interview, which we wondered had been sort of mistranslated a little bit.
Yeah,
and
that was the one where they said they were going to make it more accessible, I think was the word.
And I
came
said
out. And everyone kind of went, ooh.
I said at the time to you though that if they explained humanity and they explained those early moments a little bit better, because Dark Souls is more accessible than Demon Souls. In that regard.
Oh, Demon Souls don't explain nothing.
No. So,
but I think that if they explained in the game what humanity did, because the game doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
You ain't going to find out. You're going to learn how to roll and attack, but everything else you've got to basically figure out for yourself. Because the game, they don't tell you. And I think I'm not talking Mega Man, you can press A to jump. We're not talking that level of help. But just hints.
But there doesn't look to be humanity in this one.
No. What I saw in the top right, looked like a sundial. It looked like a time of day. That's what I saw in that top left, where the humanity used to be. Or
it could be a covenant.
Mm.
It could be sort of if that's, say, the Dark Moon Covenant's sign.
True.
Or perhaps if there's more to the covenants this time, if they are still doing that, perhaps if someone invades, it will show their covenant allegiance in the top corner.
Maybe.
But didn't we see sort of some absolutely fantastic bad guys in there?
My favourite. Okay. I'm going to tell you what my favourite.
I know which one you're going to say.
My favourite was the turtle.
Yep, I thought so.
Because you run around the back like, I'm going to stab him in the back. LOL! No! I'm going to fall on you backwards. That was brilliant. Because there was all that talk before about maybe putting a shield on your back. Yeah. So you couldn't get backstabbed from the back. I thought, that's clever. And they're like, no, we're going to give it to the enemies. Ha!
But there was that bit where the creature sort of fell on the floor, which I thought was a nice little bit of comedy in itself. It actually fell on its back and had a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
And then you walked on a little bit, and another one turned up. And even when I was watching it, I went, "Oh fuck!"
It's that Dark Souls moment of nope. You run down a corridor, you see something, nope. Turn around, run away.
And the stuff with the mansion of the dragons, with the bone sort of skeleton of the dragon sort of launching itself down the stairs was superb. But
breaking itself.
That stuff, and it's been mentioned about Dark Souls before that many of the mechanics lean more towards classic survival horror than your likes of your Resident Evil do these days, which which you've turned into an action game. But I was looking at that mansion, and it's hard not to put two and two together. But I was just thinking, yeah, and I think they realised that it's the same with movies as well. That it's not just about when you put the scares in. You don't want them 100 miles an hour all the time. You want those moments where you're terrified and you're walking really slowly and you're expecting something, because often they're more terrifying than the scares. And you've got on the other side of it, you've got some of your AAA games that will give you a scare, but give you sort of a little bit of a CGI preview of them beforehand. And this, as sort of Matt Lee said, don't do that. Don't give me a 360-degree view of the monster coming out. Throw the fucker at me and make me shit myself.
So, I'm more of a fan. I'm more of a fan of just getting a glimpse of something. Just on the off chance, you walk past, you go, what was that? And you turn, what the fuck was that? Where did that go? Something moved. What was that thing? It's one of the things, because I've been playing Slender: The Arrival for review this week.
My commiserations.
Yeah, it's not great. The mechanics don't stretch so well to a full game. It's a shame. It's amusing the first couple of times, but it starts to lose its veneer very quickly. But the glimpse of the bad guy scare, Slender gets right on the absolute button every time, because you're just walking through the forest and it's all quiet and something's out there, but you don't know where it is, and you just turn a corner and he's there and you go bollocks and you run away.
I still think the greatest scare for me ever was probably Resident Evil 2, when you walk into the interview room and it's fine. You have a look. You look through the glass to the other side of the interview room, and later on you walk much later on. You walk to the other side and you go, oh look, it's mirrored. When the licker jumps through the mirrored window, that is priceless. That is absolutely superb for the greatest bait and switch.
Yep. I mean, I remember when I was at uni, me and the missus, we were playing through the first 3 Resident Evil games. This was about 8 years ago now, so it's a long time ago. We were playing through the first ones, in sort of rooms, sitting down playing it. That exact moment, we both cacked our pants. Both of us went, ah! It's beautiful, and those kind of moments are superb. I think my favourite one from Resi was probably Resi 2, and it's a bit later on in the game, and it's in the second scenario when who I call the Terminator shows up. Big guy, black overcoat, almost a nemesis, but not gross. And you kind of go into this kind of U-shaped room, and you go around the U-shaped room, and you press a button. And then you see on the camera,
the video camera,
and you see him walk into the room you're in, and there's only one way out, and it's through him. And I pooed myself.
He crushes the video camera as well, doesn't he?
Mm-mm.
Oh, but you've got the thing in Resident Evil 2 as well, on the bit where you're going down further into the facility, and the Birkin kind of transformed bloke lands on top of that lift thing, where you've only got a little track going around it. That was a little bit. It was like the most terrifying moment that you could put the Benny Hill music over the top, and you'd still be terrified, because essentially I was running around going as that thing was like, and I was still
grenade, grenade. That's what I did. I ran around in little circles firing grenades whenever he was more than 5 feet away. And but that was a good one. And I think Resi 3, for consistently being scary, the Nemesis, was superb. Because the first time he shows up and then he sprints at you, you're like, no one's done that before.
As I'll give you the caveat on that, which is the first time he sprints at you, you run into a different room and he smashes through the wall.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm safe. Smash. Oh, bastards.
Yeah. But
that was when zombies work out how to use doors. Like in Resi 4, they worked out how to use doors. It's like, oh, bastards.
But you've got the thing in the GameCube remake where there were the red zombies, which would die and then get up later, and then you'd run across the entire mansion and you just hear like tick, 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 and just like coming closer and closer, and you're like, which direction is it coming from?
I hear a noise, but from where?
But that remake on the GameCube was just brilliant, and it baffles me why they've been twatting about with Resident Evil 4 HD and especially things like Code Veronica, when that GameCube, God,
GameCube
I put that
was
on.
good.
I put that on again recently, and it still looks beautiful.
Hmm.
It still looks gorgeous,
And it has got the potential to be quite scary at times as well.
yeah.
Like if you're not paying attention, like, oh, piss bastards. But yeah, no, remake as we call it, it's probably one of the best Resi games you can get. Easy.
Yeah.
Remake. The original uncut, like the original PS1 version, not quite so much.
No.
I did try it again recently. I tried it as Chris. He starts with a knife. That's all he has. It went poorly.
Jill, it is up to you, the master of unlocking.
Yeah, but don't become a Jill sandwich. But let's not go there. Because we'll be stuck doing quotes for hours. What else did we see from the Dark Souls 2 trailer that we liked? The bit I liked, okay, when about halfway through, running up that giant sword stuck in the outside of a building.
Yeah.
And there was that dwarfy troll-looking guy chucking axes, pinging them away with a well-timed attack. That was superb.
Well, Epic Name Bro did a nice little addition to this, and he was like, do you think we're actually going to be able to catch one?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
Uber
yes. Can you imagine that?
That would be good. Like, the way I'd like to see it, catch it, and then chuck it straight back.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the little addition to that is going to be, because it's on that giant sword, that something Mahusiv is going to pick up that sword.
I would put money on that, because I played God of War, and I know what happens when there's a giant weapon somewhere in the thing. Someone's going to get big and pick it up.
I mean, the chariot which came towards the end of the demo, super. But From Software have actually said that, and this was something we spoke about recently when you were talking about the end in Metal Gear Solid, where there might actually be a way of defeating bosses before the boss encounter.
Yeah.
But I mean that chariot was just gobsmacking. But the point where they walked out into what looks to be the painted world.
Yes, I've not played that bit, but I recognise it.
Or at least sort of the version of it beforehand, because the person that you encounter in the painted world, the boss, is half-breed Priscilla, who's part human, part dragon, and she has a piece of dialogue which states, "Why couldn't you leave us alone? Ariamis built this place for that reason." So I'm wondering if, because she is part dragon, if that's tied together. And in Dark Souls lore, this it says at the start about Seath, who betrayed his own kind.
Yeah.
But that part where they walked out onto that rope bridge and you just saw those dragons, and then the massive one land in the middle of it, and honestly, I just went, whoa. Because I'd seen that screenshot beforehand, and yet seeing it move.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The thing that whole scene made me think was, it wasn't kind of, whoa, that's awesome. I mean, like, my brain registered that it was awesome and I was watching something awesome, and that's fine. What my brain was saying was, how the piss are you supposed to do that?
Well, I think they were just showing
kill the dragon first?
I think they were just showing that little bit as it was, just to give you a little bit of...
Oh, yeah, no, they showed it as it was. But the fact they've also put the work into animating it and making it work means it will happen.
Yeah.
So, my theory is, do you have to kill that particular dragon before you can get across?
I think...
Effective level gating?
Either that or something helps you across.
Yeah. Someone comes out and, what you were telling me about, someone come out and just shot a dragon out the sky.
Yeah, we'll put it this way.
No.
At the start of Dark Souls, how do you get from the Insane Asylum?
That's true.
And the thing is that I think is it Velka? Is the name of the crow, and you see sort of her emissaries in the painted world. But I think Velka, I might be wrong on this, but I think Velka might be something to do with the undoing of the gods. And obviously a lot of Dark Souls is about the fact that gods and men are all prey to being fallible and being undone. So yeah, I wonder if that's going to be part of it.
Oh, the words. Yeah,
Also,
I'm looking forward to exploring the Mansion of the Dragons, where it's saying that dragons were experimented on in there. That's interesting. And do you know what? The thing I thought, I was watching it, and it went into the Mansion of Dragons. I looked at it, and I thought that's the Natural History Museum.
Oh, brilliant!
It's like that is just the Natural History Museum with a big old dinosaur in a big old foyer. That is what that is, and it kind of ruined that whole bit. 'Cause I was thinking, should really go back there. That was a good place to visit. Just go look at the dinosaur bones.
But then you're going to go to the Natural History Museum. You're going to be looking at that dinosaur. Like, oh
he's going to wake up.
He's going to get me.
Don't look at him too. Don't walk past those stairs. He wakes up when you walk past the stairs.
There was that great bit with the sort of fatty boom batty that was trapped behind the door, and they shot through the
fatty cyclops ding dongs.
Yeah, and he smashed the wall down. That was like, come on.
I liked what they said about as well that he seemed that he was more aggro because you shot him in the face.
Yeah,
that makes me interested because that makes me think that maybe the enemies will have possibly like different attack patterns based on how quote pissed off they are.
Well, also, I mean,
on the way that you aggro them, like if you shoot them a bit, they'll be like piss off. Or if you just walk past them, they'll be a little bit less aggressive because you'll just be walking past.
Well, I'd imagine that if you shot him in the face as well, you'd have done more damage.
True.
So there's going to be a different sort of mentality as to which way you're going to go about it, and also if if you shot him in the eye, would he have been blinded?
That's interesting.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that they could go with that.
And then he'll just swing wildly at you.
Also, that producer from FromSoft, the Japanese guy, looked absolutely shattered. I just wanted to give him a bit of a cuddle.
That's a man that's been up for 19 hours, is ready to drop, but he's got to do this stupid bloody interview where he's not even talking, he's just being translated.
It was the greatest interview. I don't know who the man from IGN was.
I could write this on a bit of paper, give it to him, and then I can go to sleep.
I don't know who the man from IGN was because I don't generally watch that channel. But
he was. I know him. He's a beard person. That's his real name.
Do you know what his real name is? What's his real name? It's not Dave Tack.
Oh, Dave Tack.
It's not Dave Tack. He's clearly the mortal enemy of Dave Tack. And I think they should put them in a wrestling ring for the battle of the beard.
Yeah, and then someone when our man Tack goes to the offensive can say the immortal phrase "Tack attack."
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The tachyon cannon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Davey Tack. He's a cool guy. I like Davey Tack.
Davey Tack. When now you come, he's probably heard that about 300 times, and he's carving my name into a piece of wood with a knife now.
Davey Tack. It's nice to have you back, Davey Tack.
And yours as well.
So yeah, what else did we see in Taunt trailer? There was other stuff, wasn't there?
There was lots of stuff. I mean, Epic
the torch was interesting.
Yeah, because it didn't require a weapon swap out either.
But he was holding it, but I think he'd still have to drop it to use his weapon. I think the weapon was still equipped, but I don't think it was usable.
They seem to be playing with light and dark a little bit more in this one.
Oh, totally. Like there was pitch blackness and there was brightness, and it was
because you've always had that hip torch, haven't you? That little hip lantern in Demons and Dark, and that didn't seem to be there in this one. So there were these pockets of darkness that enemies would hide in.
Yeah.
And I think they rather enjoyed that people might move very, very carefully in there.
Or not notice the torches on the wall, walk in the blackness and think, I've done something wrong here.
But yet again, with the torches, they seem to be rewarding the inquisitive, and that's that's been a staple of the game so far.
Definitely. I like as well that they mentioned they were going to be continuing to build the levels three-dimensionally. So they were going to build so they wind back on themselves and you could kind of see other bits from where you were.
Yeah.
They weren't just going to be a flat level. They would kind of spin around. Much like, once again, Sen's Fortress. And that you can see other bits of it as you go around. Think, well, I can get down there if I fall down this bit, but I can't down there because I can see the sides.
I hope they keep the vistas in there from Dark Souls. You know, where you can look out and you can see other places by looking down or looking up or looking across.
Places you have been.
Yeah, or places you've yet to go. I always think that's a real trick, and the fact that it's continually loading as seamlessly as it is, it just gives a general sense of, I don't know, that you're actually traversing.
It's like you're in an actual world, not that you're just in a level. Yeah, it's a real big place. It's not just know, it's not got a wall of fog around the outside that you can't see around. What
did you think to the character animations on the character that they'd chosen? I still think we're going to be able to pick our own designs and our own classes again.
Absolutely. I think they've chosen a character to demo it with. Much like in Demon Souls, you've got the guy with the kind of the pointed, peaky kind of looking, the one that looks like a bird's beak as a helmet.
Yeah.
In the intro, and the same with Dark Souls. You know, you see the guy with like the sort of slightly blue armor is the one that I see come up all the time.
Well, they
even generic knight-looking guy.
They'd even got the elite knight armor in one of the pre-release shots for Dark Souls 2.
Oh, cool.
With the guy holding his hand over the bonfire near the woman when it lit.
And it's cool that's interesting because then it shows that some of the armor will still be there. Like if it is a prequel, like the theories are going that it is going to be a prequel to Dark Souls. It's nice to see that some of the armors that obviously they're not going to be a complete new set of stuff. It would be nice to see some of the older armors from the first game make a return in the past, if you know what I mean.
Well, a few
like they've not just thrown it all away and then a load of new stuff has been built before the next game. It's nice to see that some armor is persistent and it is still there and it hasn't all changed completely just because a couple of hundred years have passed.
Well, a few of the super historians on YouTube have sort of tracked down the weapons that are being used in that Dark Souls 2 demo.
Oh, really?
And they mentioned that rather than the sort of weapons that we saw in the first game, that some are Spanish weapons, or some are Italian weapons. They've actually tracked down the exact type of swords being used and stuff, and they go back to ancient Italy and ancient Rome. You know what I mean.
Ancient places.
So I find that really quirky that they've got one foot in the real world or in real world history. Rather than just, grabbing them up from scratch and designing something new. So, but I'm really excited for what's there. But what did you think to the new effects? Because I know, speaking to Sean, he wasn't keen on the. I think on the bonfire animations. On when you touch the bonfire and when you walk through the fog door. But when I looked in,
fog door was better. When
I looked in the second time around, I really liked both.
I like the fog door was the one that I noticed because I find with fog doors you go through and there's always that kind of second. You hit the door, you start walking through, and there's that second where you are vulnerable and you don't know what's behind there. And because the fog hasn't quite cleared, you can't see it. Capra Demon.
Yeah.
You walk through and it's like he's there. Whereas this one seemed to dissipate more as you go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an artist interpretation of the noises that one would make upon first meeting the Capra Demon. But they disperse and you can go through and you could see what you were going through as you were going through. By the time that it cleared and you had control, you could see what you were, looking at. And that's one of the things that does annoy me slightly about the fog doors in Dark Souls and Demons is that you cannot see in front of you.
You saw the character touch the fog door.
Yep.
The fog disappeared. There was almost like a water ripple effect.
Yep.
And then you walked in knowing what you were going into. I thought the interesting thing with the bonfire was that it wasn't just lighting the bonfire. You were actually lighting the room with the bonfire as well.
Yeah.
So that whole whoosh that leapt off the bonfire. Whilst there was a degree of drama to it, that was a dark room before the bonfire was lit, and it cast all the light over the statue of the woman that was looking down, and so yeah, again, I think that's going to tie into light and dark.
Okay, now here's my question. Okay, now they've mentioned that the Estus flask will be returning, which is good because Estus flasks are a good way of pacing the level. I like it; it's good.
Yeah.
Because you can build the level knowing that they're going to have about this much health to get through. That's good. What did you think about the drop stone of healing?
I think there was a little bit of a miscommunication there. Because somebody asked about the Estus flasks, and the guy said, "Yeah, that's going to be returning." But I actually think that the Estus flask is the drop stone.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to be using that sort of this time as opposed to Estus. So I think that's what he was pertaining to. That there is going to be a way of giving yourself energy again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my theory was that obviously because they wanted to show it off and didn't want to die. Well, they died a bit, but they didn't want to die too much. That the drop stones were like another item you could get that would give you a full health regen. Boosh, done. And that the Estus flask would do about half like they usually do. I think they were another item.
In the thing that made me think that they were replacing Estus was that there were 20 of them that were stacked up and available, in the same way as you can get that amount of Estus. There is the other way of thinking that perhaps it's a miracle because you've got the heal miracle that you can use when you're going down that path in Dark Souls. But my instinct was that was a direct swap out.
Okay. Well, that remains to be seen, I think, on what's actually going to.
I think if the guy from Software, if I'd have given him a cuddle beforehand and a nice cup of coffee, I think we'd have had the, this is going to be the replacement for that.
I think you'd have got it.
Yeah, I like to think so, because I do make good coffee. I liked the wash of souls over the character when an enemy was killed as well. It was like a. It wasn't the of last time. It was like a
sklorf.
But I'm just curious as hell because they also did the thing afterwards that they did that 12-minute reveal. Then they did a little bit of an interview with IGN where they talked in more depth about what had been seen and answered people's questions.
Yeah. And
which had most people cartwheeling anyway. And then straight after, they released a new trailer.
Yeah. That's how you do hype. That's get it all out there. And I think showing off gameplay was the smartest thing they could have done.
Absolutely.
Because while CG trailers are interesting and it's cool to see, this is a nice concept, it's nice to see how things actually work. And I think that's a lot of the Dark Souls people, they play it for the gameplay. They don't play it because, look at this shiny explosion. They play it because that's how it plays. That's why I play it. I play it because it's fun to play and it's nice to see. Yeah.
It always bothers me, like, was it last E3? Loads of people going like, Prey 2 looks fantastic. It was like, fuck all about it. That's a trailer by Blur Studio.
Yeah.
They were very, very good at what they do, but fuck all about it.
Exactly.
That's almost a proof of concept.
Unless you've seen gameplay, you can't really. I mean, you're allowed to get a little bit excited, I think, but not. You need to see how the thing actually plays before you can get properly excited.
Well, Blur Studio did the Dark Souls trailer that we saw previously, but it was interesting how the concepts that we'd seen in that were actually in the game. They weren't just chucking out odd dragons and stuff because that rope bridge was there, which everybody went, is that the painted world? And so lots of that stuff was already in and around, which is kind of cool.
Speaking of the trailer, speaking of that first trailer, do we think, because there was a point in the trailer when a woman gives you a feather, do we think there will be more of a focused plot line about the hero themselves as opposed to it being more about the world? Because the plot and story so far has been more about you're really an unknown, you're not really a face, you're just there doing stuff. You're trying to save the land, obviously, but it's not like I must save my family kind of thing. It's this is it because it has to be done. Do you think there'll be more of a personality to the hero? Do you think?
I don't. I genuinely don't, because I think that if there's one thing that Dark Souls does possibly better than any game I can think of, is you are the hero. You know, it's you that's going through the game, and the game doesn't force story on you at all. I mean, the interesting thing from listening to that Kane and Rince podcast and listening to the odd bits of Bonfire Side chat today is that it seems most people go through their first play of the game just playing the game. And it's the lore and the story stuff and the little intricacies of armor and places and the things that are written and the things that are said that start to claw their way into the psyche on the second playthrough and the third playthrough, and that's what keeps people coming back and discussing things and you know, putting things on Tumblr and YouTube, and that's I genuinely think it does story more intelligently than any game I can think of.
I mean, I like that it's you are playing yourself more than, say, a game like Fallout. Because in a game like Fallout, while you're creating your character, you're doing things the way you want to, which is brilliant. You know, don't get me wrong, I think that is amazing, and I've always enjoyed those games. Things like Oblivion, Skyrim, you know, open worldy games where you can do what you fancy. I like those. What it does well, though, is because it doesn't really because Dark Souls doesn't really give you a voice per se. You're a silent person, and the most interaction you really get with a person is yes, no.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, all you're doing occasionally is saying yes or no. And I like that more than having a list of, say someone says, hey, do you want to go to that cavern? And you've got like 5 options, and it's like, yeah, sure, let's go. Or, no, tell me more. Or, hey, you must be crazy. Or, fuck off. You know, and having it being less wordy, you put more meaning onto what you're doing. Because the character isn't explicitly saying, I really need to go take care of those catacombs right now.
I mean, I'm not normally a fan of the silent protagonist. For me, I'd rather play as a character in most games, because the way that interactive cutscenes or interactions in game go on, most people will go like, hey, are we doing this? Are we doing this? And it just feels like, you know, you're the actor that hasn't got the script, and then people
they're talking to the void,
reacting as if you know what you're supposed to be said, and you're shouting it Connect style from your sofa. But and Dark Souls, I never lose a sense of immersion. People seem to, for the most part, be talking to you, and I don't know. I think because you can look at a playthrough on YouTube, and it's not as if someone's showing you how to get past an area. Someone's showing you how they got past an area, and it's individually their choices of armor, their choices of weapons, their choices of shield, and at that point you may be rocking a radically different series of choices, and you might see someone, you know, go back to the Undead Asylum and say, oh, you know, I used the ghost knife because it caused bleeding, or something like that. That's your best bet to do, and then, you know, the demon can tick down. And you might do that and just go, this doesn't suit me at all.
This don't work there, laddie. I'm going to try something else.
Well, it's not that it doesn't work, but it doesn't work for you. Maybe you're a little heavier than that. Maybe you prefer a different move set, or, you know, you prefer spears to swords, or you're not really getting on with that dagger, or But that may spin you onto just the thought of pulling the handle on the fruit machine and seeing where the nudges lie. Like, oh, I'll try this weapon, or I'll try this weapon, or I'll swap this out. And that I think is where the game really sort of makes it personal, because it's entirely your decision, but there are so many options to progress, like so many options. But how you come to that conclusion, however you do the mathematics, is entirely up to you. and I think that's the most immersive. But you can play the game that first time round and just enjoy the game for the combat and the things that are being thrown at you. And perhaps there is a focus that first time round of not knowing what's coming and just staring into the screen and listening to the sound effects and just genuinely feeling like you're there and feeling like you're scared. But that second, third time when you're trying different things, or perhaps you bring in other people into the game, or whichever way it is, I think you're looking around you a little bit more, or you're psychoanalyzing.
See, I think you try more different stuff on your second run. I've been doing a lot of bro up in the last couple of last week or two, just sort of hanging around, near the start of levels, giving people a hand as you do. And like I say, I went back to Dark Route with some guys and swapped out to the +8 spiky club. Reinforced club, just running around bollocking things with it, and it's like it's like, yep, down in one, and the guy looked at you, and I think someone the other day they did the sort of the shrug animation. I was like, yep. And he's like, and he sort of came over, and I could see that he was looking at what weapon it was. So I sort of tried to sort of two-hand it and sort of show him, and then he bowed. I was like, okay, he knows what that was. But yeah, just running around and just bollocking stuff with different strategies than you before, and it's quite empowering going back, knowing what's coming in a way, and thinking, right, okay, this time I'm not going to run in, I'm not going to bring my stupid fire sword to use against fire enemies because that was a stupid idea. I'm going to use something way smarter, and coming through and then kind of trolleying through it, going, yes, I've beaten you level.
Isn't this one of the kind of the unspoken joys of bro up though? Because it's not just jumping into somebody else's game. I mean, I like you take a huge amount of enjoyment of going into other people's games, helping them out. But the other side of that is you might see somebody using a weapon that you've not used, or that what's that shield that they're wearing?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting combination. And then you try it, because I mean those clubs are quite anonymous when you first go to the Undead Merchant in Undead Burg, and you're thinking,
it's just a stick, isn't it?
Yeah, you're thinking like, clubs, bollocks to that. I'm going to go for a sword, or I'm going to go for an axe.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought, but when you've got it, you realise that it's fantastic at breaking down a guard.
I call it the smack hammer.
But that R2 attack is just a joy.
It's actually the same attack as the how you can do the kick instead of a regular attack. If you do the smash I call it the smash attack, is how you do the kick. If you do the smash attack with the R2 attack, it does the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only got one thing that R2 does, and it is that giant beastly jump bonk.
Because I had somebody that I was bro-upping with the other day that was using the whip. And I got the whip, but I'd never used it, and you can't actually do a backstab with it, which is interesting.
I think it can get past shields.
Yeah, it can break down shields, but you can't do backstabs with it. But the moveset's actually quite fast.
I've been, the couple of times that I've met someone with a whip, I've been utterly trolleyed by them every single time.
The worst ones for breaking down sort of shield guard are those things that Lautrec's got. Those sort of curved knives.
Cestus? No, not Cestus. I know what you mean. I can't think of what they're called.
You know what I mean, but if you've got shield up, they'll just pull that fucker straight down.
Lol, no.
Yeah, because I've seen folks use those in swap out a shield for one of those in PvP, and like pull someone's shield down, and then just go straight in, swap out their right hand for something like a spy hander, and then bring the smack
go to
down.
Town on them.
Yeah, but it's fun when you see that sort of stuff kick in.
Yeah.
And even in bro up terms, I mean, I've been doing a fair bit on one of my PS3 games recently, and it's such a joy when you see someone going into a battle and maybe early on they get absolutely hammered, like quite early. I'm thinking particularly
when you see someone run in and then go nope and run the other way.
I'm thinking particularly the Artorias battle, because Artorias does some incredibly heavy hits. There's a certain point where it doesn't matter where you are in this arena. that he'll launch himself into the air, and it's literally hit you once, jump up into the air, hit you again, jump up into the air, hit you again, and you have to kind of roll out of the way each time. But the sheer
Lol, you done, son.
ferocity and this, like, you are going to die, you are going to die, you are going to die. It's terrifying at first because of the sheer velocity of the attack, and
Yeah.
you know, I saw a few people sort of die quite early on in that battle, but then they'll call you into round 2, and they might have swapped out their armor a bit. Or they're trying something else, or perhaps they've picked up a few ideas from you, and they go in and maybe they get a little bit further, but still end up taking a hit.
But they do better.
It's such a joy though when there's that final point where he's beaten. I love that. It's you know, you're seeing someone persevere. You're seeing someone freshen things up and not just throw their joypad across the room. That they're thinking, that was my fault.
Yeah.
How can I do it better? And for those people that persevere like that, I think it's fantastic, and it's always fun to afterwards when you know you're laying down your soul signs and somebody else brings you into the game, but when you then see that person coming into someone else's game to help them out. I think, have you had that when you recognise somebody?
I've seen that one time so far, and it was the Iron Golem, I think, and I thought, I've seen your name before. Sniper 76 or whatever his name was. Like, I've seen you, and we did the little bow and the little shrug. It's like, yeah, I've seen you.
But you're really enjoying Bro Op.
I am having so much fun with Bro Op because I'm trying to kind of because we want to do Anal Londo together, and we will do it at some point, won't we?
Yeah.
After a month of trying, because I'm waiting to go ahead a bit. I do find myself kind of just hanging about the boss stores or near the beginning of levels and just helping people with the bosses, because I'm at the point where I'm now leveling up my gear to a point where it's all as good as I can get it at this point.
Yeah.
And I've been experimenting with some different gear setups and things as well, trying some different stuff out. I've pretty much settled on the Fire Broadsword with my Pyromancy Glove, which I've now got at maximum level.
Good man.
Thanks to quite a lot of Iron Golem trolleying. Got that up to max level. I bought all the Pyromancy spells as well now, so they're all sitting tasty in the bank. I do like Great Fireball. Great Fireball is delightful.
Great Combustion is the thing for me, because you can almost stand alongside somebody like, hey, how you doing?
Do you want to shake hands? Lol, it was a joke.
Yeah.
I've been leveling out and I've leveled up all my gear as much as I can. I've been farming the depths quite a bit because, one, you can get large Titanite shards off of those slime things, and two, you get summoned all the time.
It's brilliant for being pulled into other people's games, but that boss battle with the Gaping Dragon, I never really get bored of.
I've done that so many times, and I could do it more. I think the only bad experience I've had with that one, actually no, I've had two. The first bad one, I was joining someone else in their game, and someone else joined as well. The host ran through the boss door. The second guy stood in front of the fog gate and wouldn't let me go past.
Oh, man.
And he was just stood there kind of doing, like, blocking on and off, blocking on and off, blocking on and off. Like, when they kind of hold the sword up to sort of cross themselves, like, block, 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 block. Yeah. And I'm thinking, move, you fat bastard. And I couldn't get past, so I sort of ran up the top to sort of see if I could use archery from the top. Then I saw Friendo run in underneath, so I ran back down. By the time I got through the door, it was dead.
Oh, man.
Which is annoying. And the second bad thing that happened in the depths, which was my own bloody fault, we were trolleying through. We were going what I think is known as the quick way, which is through the rat. I was with some people that were very strong. It was very clearly that they were very strong because the rat went down in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So we went to the slide, went down the slide, because I've not done the slide before. I didn't know what to do. So I didn't know you had to jump off at the bottom. And I fell into the sewers. So I had to go around basically by myself, taking out all those curse frogs.
Yeah, you have to hug the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Go down the slide.
I did not know that, and I just went straight in. So I had to go around, and basically trolley every single frog in that bottom bit until I found my way out. And one of them actually came down, found me, pointed the way to go. I was like, cheers, and followed them back out. And
Yeah.
we kind of got to the top, kind of stood around before we went through the boss door. I did the little shrug animation. and they both went shrug as well.
It is amazing
I
how
thought, sorry, I thought, I'm sure it's-
genuinely expressive
Yeah.
those gestures can be,
I'm having
and how funny as well.
Yeah, I'm having so many problems choosing which 6 to use because the
I
shrug.
know what you mean.
I've gotten so much use out of the shrug this last week. It's been the greatest. Just the shrug, the point, the praise the sun, and the come at me, bro.
You
And
just wait until you get the vocal ones as well.
But yeah, that happened. What else happened? Oh yeah, I had a really good time. The Iron Golem. I saw him get knocked off the tower, which was amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And then the very next time I did it, I myself got knocked off the tower.
Uh-huh.
And it takes about a week to fall off as well, which is quite fun. You're sort of falling and you're falling and you're falling. I'm thinking, oh, I'm sorry, dude. It was fun, you know. And then actually yesterday was really fun. I popped in to help a guy with the golem, and it was just me and him. And kind of before he went into the boss door, it was kind of clear that we were going to be going ahead with just the two of us. So I did the little sort of the beckon animation, and he kind of turned around, and I sort of led him through to the little room where Iron Targus lives. Pointing at the floor where I thought it was. Some of the target did a little bow, which was good. And we went through. And before we went through the door, he did something, which you might be able to tell me what it was. He kind of did like a spell, and he went a bit red. What does that mean?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think it's the power within, and it's something that you can get in Blighttown for the pyromancy glove, and it's apparently better off used if you've only got the standard pyromancy glove, that if you've not leveled it up.
Yeah.
But I think it takes away from your own energy, it drains your energy, but it puts that into your attack.
Okay. Well, that's what happened next then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm getting the pointing at the Iron Targus thing confused with this guy, because I'm not sure now, because I did that level a lot. So if I've got that wrong, whatever. But we went through. We start, you know, the standard pattern. One of you runs one way, runs the other way, and you kind of play golem. You play golem tennis. Make Yon fireball, chucking fireballs at him, and the golem fell over like backwards. But because he fell over at me, it didn't hit me per se. He just kind of pushed me off the edge, kind of like almost in a glitchy way, in like a hitbox kind of way.
Okay.
He fell backwards and he pushed me off the edge. And I'm thinking, but you know, because it was a really kind of cheap way to get knocked off. It's like, he didn't even hit me; he just pushed me. That's bollocks. So I fell and I fell. I was like, you died, returning to your world, and then the guy killed him. He's like, you died. Well, you're returning to your world with humanity. I was like, what?
Yeah, that is
and
great.
I turned back up my world with 20,000 more souls and some humanity.
When somebody defeats, you know, when like you're seeing sort of a little bit of energy left on a boss, and you've died, and you're thinking, come on, yes!
And I was so simple, because I thought, that's it, I was dead. I thought, that's it, I'm back to my own world, I'll start again, hang around there for another 5 minutes waiting for someone else. I think I must have just caught it, because I was down the bottom of that fall for a long time before it kicked in. And I got back, I was like, yes! Souls! And I sent the guy a little message going, dude, that was amazing. And he's like, yep, I saw too.
I love that. I love that the little messages sort of afterwards when people are grateful, or you do have like a fantastic battle. I will say that you'll love the new content, because the new content you've got 3 boss battles within that, and all of them are incredibly repeatable.
Yeah.
Particularly Artorias.
I have a problem. He did ask me if I wanted to go to Anor Londo with him as well. I was like, I'd love to, but I've got to wait.
Yeah, we're taking the caravan.
I had an appointment with another friend in Blighttown. So, I was like, I can't. I'm gonna go meet him. He's like, don't worry, dude. I was like, thank you. But yeah, that was great. And blood, we're an hour already. Bloody hell. The other thing I did this week, very quickly, is I went back to the Undead Asylum.
Oh, cool. How did you get on?
Okay, to a point. I got through the first bit all right. You know, smack, did all right. found where the nest for Sparkly or Snuggly, the crow.
Yeah.
The one I found the nest. I thought I'll go back. I'll sort that out later. Trotted on forwards. Went into the room where you fought the vagrant demon or something. What's his name? Asylum demon. Sorry.
Yeah, the Asylum demon.
Went in the room where you fight him, which was empty, and I thought, right, okay, I'll go through to the bonfire. I made an elementary mistake. Because as I walked forwards, the floor broke. And I fell through, and I was dead in seconds.
All right, okay.
Because you meet another one of those, the one you saw before, kind of trotting around in the depth by himself.
Yeah.
You meet him again, but this time his smack attack has a giant magic bomb on the end of it.
Absolutely.
And I was not ready. I'd already taken the hit from falling in as well, which I think is pretty unavoidable, isn't it? You're going to take some damage, unless you have like there's a falling.
Yeah, there's a.
But I didn't have that. I didn't have any preparation whatsoever, so I was dead pretty quick.
I think, if I remember rightly, if you fall and you hit jump just before you get to the floor, you'll roll and you'll lose less damage.
Okay.
Rather than just landing on your feet and potentially being staggered a little bit.
Like a combat roll.
Yeah,
okay.
You'll still lose energy from the fall, but it'll be less than if you just fell.
Next time I'm in Firelink, I'll potter around and I'll try that out.
Also, as a little tip for the Undead Asylum, go back to the room you started in.
Yes. Well, I mean, when I died with the stray demon, I realised I'd made a slightly larger mistake upon dying there. In that the last bonfire I'd saved at was the one halfway up Sen's Fortress.
Oh, balls.
I had to go all the way back. It took a long time. This time, I went around it, I saved up, and I thought, right, awesome. I thought, right, I'm going to explore a bit before I do that, because fuck that. So I went exploring. And I just, by chance, went back the way where my room was. And I met Mr. Nasty Surprise in my room. Because once again, just when you think everything is clear and everything's easy, guess who shows up? Sauron! And that was a worrisome fight. Even with my now fully souped up pyromancy, I was chucking fireballs from a distance and it was doing a good job. But he's a relentless attacker. He runs at you down a corridor. There's no real way past him. You've got to kind of just back up, sort of taunt him into doing a big attack and then chuck a ball at him while he's trying to do his attack. And that was how I beat him. I had to just back up. And I think I got back to the very, very end of the tunnel before I got rid of him.
Did you pick anything up?
I did. I picked up a toy doll.
Good.
And I know I kind of knew that was there. That's why I went back mainly to pick that up. I'd found that out from Tinternet that was... I'd seen it mentioned. I thought, let's have a Google. Okay, I'll go get it. Got that. Then after doing that, explored a bit more. Met another Sauron. Fucking guys. But again, trolleyed them fairly simply without too much. And then when I actually came to take on the demon himself, I would say it took me about 6 or 7 goes.
Oh, but you got him.
I got him. It was not easy, but the trick was once I was behind him, it was okay.
I genuinely hate those guys. There's another one a little bit further on in the game who's a bit more powerful again.
But you kind of land right in front of him, and you're in front of him. You've already been a bit hit. You've landed right in front of him, so you're already on the back foot before you've even started, and that made it worse. Is that you don't have a way of easily getting out of his way, so you've got to kind of bring him out a bit and run behind him before he can do his big magical bonk. And luckily, it went all right. But yeah,
it's got that massive jump attack as well. Which
the butt stomp.
I might be thinking of the one a little bit further on then.
These ones they do the kind of they flutter up and then they do the butt stomp.
No, they
knock your back. It doesn't really hurt.
I think I might be thinking of the one further along, but they do like a massive, the equivalent of the R2 bunny jump from the club.
Yeah.
But, with a sort of swinging side thing with a massive hammer. Yeah. But it's a beast.
Oh, dear. Well, I mean, I was lucky that I did it because the bonfires back at the asylum obviously were before they were kindled, so they were only 5 Estus bonfires. And I was down to my last mead on the fight that I won. I only had one butter beer left to drink.
Have you got the? Oh yeah, you have got the Rite of Kindling because we did it together, didn't we?
We did.
When I brought the Holiday of Fire.
Yes, you did.
So have you kindled a bonfire up to 20?
Not yet.
You need to do that.
15. 15's been okay for now. I've not. I think if I get problems, I will do up to 20. But 15's been all right.
Just do Firelink.
Firelink's still broken.
Oh.
Yeah, Firelink's still.
Oh, because you.
I've been alternating between Santa, and the one halfway through the depths.
We need to do Anna Orlando.
We need to do Anna Orlando.
Have you been brought into a refereed PvP match yet?
I have not.
It's really interesting. Like you'll get them every now and again where you get pulled into a game and there'll be two people there. Mm-hmm. One will be standing to the side.
Yeah.
And you'll have another invader, and then there'll be a battle, and whoever dies. The person standing to the side will drop a few things for the winner. It's bizarre. It's genuinely bizarre. And I mean, listening to the Kane and Rince podcast the other day, there was one of the folks on there was saying that they've done the thing where they've invaded somebody's game. They've seen them if that person's bowed and stuff. That they've just dropped a few items for them and then used the Black Phantom Crystal to disappear back to their own world. they've like thrown them a wave, then if the person's waved back, they've just dropped them some nice items and then disappeared back.
I saw something on YouTube when I was just googling around using
the Santa one.
No, I saw something. It was a disguise game, and it was basically a game of Find the Lady, but with barrel disguises.
Uh-huh.
And it was in the Undead Parish, and this guy invaded who was recording. I'm not sure if it was set up, but it looked like it would be the sort of funny thing you could just walk into. And he runs in, runs to sort of the front steps of the Undead Parish, the steps before you get to the church.
Yeah.
And there's three guys stood there. They all become barrels, and then they run around. They kind of keep swapping around in little circles, and they run 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 and they swap and they swap and they swap, and then they kind of stop in a line of three.
Uh-huh.
And they wait, and the kind of invader sort of looks around and sort of goes, okay. Walks up to one, points at it, barrel comes off, it's not the host. So they have to those two. Yeah. So those two fight to the death, and the invader wins so he wins, and he does a little, yeah!
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and the other two don't move. They just stay there in their barrels, and he walks over to the next ones, and then points at another one, and it's not the host. So then those two guys fight, and they do it, and they do it. So then the last guy stays in his barrel, and the invader walks over, does the little shrug, points at it, barrel comes off, and then they have a fight. And I think the invader does die on the last one. But it was really fun. And I was really enjoying it. It's like, find the lady. Yeah.
There was one that I saw, and there's in New Londo Ruins, there's a guy that's sort of dressed up in kind of a red hat and a red sort of cloak and stuff. And somebody did the Christmas Santa as to whether children have been naughty or nice, and they're invading people's games with this kind of almost Santa outfit, and putting down all the little sort of shiny stones on the floor and dropping items in between. And if somebody picked, it was like presents for children, and if they picked them up and then attacked him, it'd just be like, "No, you've been naughty, stealing from Santa." And like go in and like do this incredibly powerful smackdown. But if somebody like walked up to this little ring of sort of jewels and picked up the item and then bowed, they'd then bow and return and leave their game. So it's like you've been naughty, and like the music changes to like but all these variations, it just but people are still playing it.
Yeah,
people are still coming up with this stuff, and the game's 18 months old now.
Must be even getting on past that as well. I mean, it's nice to see the community is still there and they're still inventing new things to do.
That barrel thing is genius. I hadn't thought.
Really fun. Yeah, it was like, what's going on here? And then they sort of move around. And when they stopped in a line, it's like, I know what they're doing.
that's the chameleon spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen before someone hiding as a they break apart, cast the chameleon spell on it and become the part, and I've seen people running around in quite a panic because in the catacombs, I think it was, it said that they'd been invaded and they
didn't know where.
And this person just remained as a pot for ages, absolutely ages, just watching them run around and knowing where they were, and then running up so they could see the red glow, and then running round the corner and then smashing another pot, becoming that pot, and essentially stalking this person right up to the last, and then twatting them when they got the most amount of sort of souls and stuff. But it was. I just think I wonder if it's gone way above and beyond what From thought could be done in the game. Because that pot thing, you'll have to link me to that video because
I'll try and find it again. I reckon I can find it on my YouTube history. I'm sure I'll link it in the thread as well if I find it. I'll link it in Polygon thread as well.
I'll find the Santa one as well because it is genuinely fantastic.
Dark Souls mini games.
Yeah.
And before we go, the last thing I did this week is I ran around Int Darkroot, taking out them bastards that live behind that door, the kind of 6 or 7 humans that run around and screw you over. Took them all out because I was after the Black Bow of Faris.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard about them, I heard it was a good range and it was a decent bow. I was like, right, I'm having that. Yeah, definitely. Trolleyed in, found Faris. Who was the one who was shooting with arrows. I thought that's got to be him.
I always picture him as the bloke that sang with Nerd, but I realised that that's Farrell. But the two are now entwined in my mind. Like I'll hear Farrell sort of singing on the new Daft Punk single. I'd be like, yeah, but where's your fucking bow?
I'm an archer.
It's in my inventory and your fucking daft hat.
So yeah, I twatted him. But too close to the edge, and he fell off. I was like, "Oh, ball bags! Does that mean his bow's gone?" And nothing dropped, and I got a bit depressed. I was like, "Fuck! I wanted that bow."
Yeah.
Went back, saved it at the bonfire. The next couple of days, I came back a couple of days later. Went back to where he was, and there was just the item there. He wasn't there. I was like, "Oh, cool. The item's there." Picked it up, like, "Oh, a bow. Ooh, what's this with it? Oh, there's a hat. Oh, let's go try that on." And immediately, I know it's useless, and I know it's got no stats, but I am in love with the Faris hat. It is the pimpest hat I have ever seen in that game. I have never seen a hat as pimp as that. And you put it on, and it's like you instantly channeling Robin Hood.
I was going to say it's a degree of Errol Flynn about you if you're rocking that beast.
It's delightful. I mean, up to that point, I'd been rocking a dingy robe with the Wanderer's gear everywhere else because it's quite light and it's quite tough. It's a good trade-off of sort of light versus tough. And it lets me quick roll. So I put the hat on, which is actually a bit lighter. So I can swap it out for the Wanderer's coat as well. So it does make you look a bit like Robin Hood by the time you're finished. Prancing about, jabbing people with rapiers. It's a lot of fun.
There's one in the new content with some of these kind of creatures that jump at you. They've got these massive, gangly, swinging arms, and they'll run at you, but they'll try and run around you as well.
Yeah,
they've got sort of a little bit of strategy to them, but their face looks like this kind of multi-eyed thistle, and you can use their head as a hat.
Oh,
and it's one of the most. It's really light, but it's got like about. It's got a really high degree of armor to it.
Nice.
Which is really bizarre.
That's what excites me. That's what drew me to the Wanderer's gear because it is that perfect. For me, it's the perfect trade-off of light versus tough.
Yeah,
and it's got good. It's got pretty decent. I mean, the coat I don't think is quite as good as the dingy robe. But the coat, it's a big coat and it looks pimp.
I've been
with the Faris hat. It's like, oh my god, it looks amazing. But I shouldn't wear my outfit because of what is stylish. I should wear what's effective. But goddamn, I can't stop myself.
I got I got the Xanthus outfit from the Painted World of Ariamis, and it looks like it shouldn't be very armored because it's almost like a kind of tube top with little bits of kind of, you know, those things in the olden days, that those strips of tape that people used to put over their back door that rustled.
Yeah.
Which when their back door was open.
Yeah.
And you could just Lord knows why, it was the 70s and 80s, but it's kind of got those on the back of it, and it looks like it shouldn't be very armored, but it's got a decent degree of armor. And it's really light as well, so I've been rocking that a wee touch.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the light armors, definitely. I know the heavy armors will make you last longer, but I like being able to just dodge in and out of things. It's a gameplay choice. I might go heavier armor later on, but I'm enjoying my choices thus far. And the fact that I can now do it while looking like a goddamn Robin Hood, a zombie Robin Hood, it's delightful. It's wonderful, and I know it's useless, and I know it's crap, but I cannot take it off.
We have to do Anne Orlando then next.
Definitely.
So let me know when you're good, and we'll boing into Anne Orlando. And I will tip the hat towards if people have Crunchyroll, and I'd tip the hat to a new series that went up yesterday called Attack on Titan, which is beautiful destruction. And I think any Dark Souls fan, or Game of Thrones fan for that matter, will get a real kick out of it.
Or Game of Thrones. Okay, well, I've got to watch that now because you said the Game of Thrones word.
Seriously, watch it. It's about kind of this this village which is put up these. It's got these sort of 50-foot high walls around it, or this city that's got these 50-foot high walls around it, and outside of the village are these giants that wander around, and none of them, these walls are far higher than these giants can ever go. And it's about what happens one day when a creature drops from the sky which can look over the top of the walls. It's about 10 times bigger than any of the giants that wander outside the city. And what happens from there. And it's tons of fun, if you consider fun incredible violence and gobsmacking more violence.
You're right. As a very desensitized gamer, I do enjoy violence.
It's got quite a Western comic book look to it, like a the thing in Western comics where you'll see sort of a lighter line bleeding into a sort of heavier, thicker line.
Yeah.
But I quite enjoyed the first couple of episodes, but it only went up yesterday. So, but I recommend it. It's good fun.
I will add it to my list.
Do it.
Aha. List added. Right, yeah. We'll call that there then, because we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll do Anne Orlando before next time, and
absolutely.
Anne Orlando an adventure in itself.
Anne Orlando or bust.
I think there might be a few busts in there, but in fact, one of them particular with a certain lady that's at the end of them.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you're listening on Polygon, drop us a word in. Let us know what you thought of the Dark Souls 2 trailer. Do you agree with our theories, our suggestions? Do you not agree? Do you want to argue with us? Argue with us. We'll listen. The same on.
Leave us goodness on YouTube as well, because there's been some really nice folks that have left us some nice stuff on tubes.
Shout out to YouTubes.
Actually, I'm going to go on there now because a few folks have been kind enough to say nice things on there. So let me just have a look.
Use your speed.
I have used my speed. Right, let's have a look.
Go fast.
I can only go fast as my internet will let me. 6Trickster9 has been lovely with regards to comments.
Yes, I recognise that name.
Yes, 6Trickster9, and there were a few folks on the early ones as well. I don't know if they're still listening in. I do hope so.
Let us know if you are. Of course,
Yeah,
all the lovely folks that we talk to on Polygon as well, and across Twitter and Facebook, and every situation where a person can talk about Dark Souls, I believe one of us has talked about it. So thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, one and all.
Yeah, that was episode 8. Was it episode 8?
It was episode 8.
Episode
Truly.
8. We'll call that one. What do you want to call it? Trailer
no
park?
Souls.
Trailer park?
Caravan shoes.
Caravan shoes. There we go. Job done. Episode 8, Caravan shoes.
Yes.
It makes sense eventually. Yes, I was Paddy. He was CJ. And we will see you the next time.
I am waving.
I am also waving. Bye.
We're going to go over there.
Over there. Yep.
Gesture.
Shrug.
Bye.
Bye.